You don't need expensive gear to make cinematic videos. In fact, sometimes cheaper gear makes for better films. What's going on? I'm Aaron World, and when I'm out filming, I try to keep things as budget-friendly as possible. 99% of the content I make, it's just me and my camera. So that means my gear has to be affordable, reliable, and actually fun to use. I'm actually out here in the Redwoods right now, so let's get the fuck out of here, and I'll show you the actual budget-making film gear that I use 99% of the time. Let's get it. Not everything needs to be high-end cinema gear to make great videos. In fact, I think the imperfections and the limitations are what gives movies soul. Having budget gear forces you to think differently, to be creative, to problem solve. So today, I want to talk about a few pieces of budget gear that I genuinely use all the time. So let's talk about it. Okay, first one on the list is the Sony Monitor and Control app. This is insanely useful. I use this every time I'm filming myself. In fact, I have it on me all the time, and I'm currently using it right now. So obviously this only pertains to Sony camera users. I don't know if other brands have like a similar thing, but this is awesome. There's a free and paid version. I just use the free version. I don't actually know how much the paid version is. I'll probably whack it up on screen. It works on smartphones, tablets. I use my iPhone. It's super cool. It's like having a wireless monitor in your back pocket. But the free version comes packed with features. You've got false color, vector scopes. You can change the focus, the aperture, the white balance, your shutter speed, your frame rate. You can do so much in it. It even has anamorphic D-squeeze if you're using anamorphic lenses. It actually has more features in the app than in the camera, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it's an absolute no-brainer if you shoot Sony cameras. It's insanely useful, especially for budget filmmakers. You may as well get it. It's free. All right, second on the list is audio, the DJI Mic Mini. I use this extensively for every talking headshot, especially when I'm out in public. I use this when I'm filming myself all the time. In fact, I'm not even using this mic. I'm using Mic Mini to record this video. It's super affordable. I think I paid about 130 Australian dollars for the whole kit. It comes with like a little charging case, 2 receivers and a transmitter. The battery like lasts forever, and the audio quality is solid. It's really good. It's not 32-bit float though, so when you're recording, just make sure to just check your audio levels, see if they're good, just do a few test runs, and you should be fine. Clean audio instantly makes your footage look like a whole lot more professional, no matter the camera you're using. All right, so to add a little bit of more character in my footage, I use something called a split diopter. I got this from Marketplace for like, I think it was like $20 or $30 years ago. But if you look online, they kind of vary in prices. You can get them from anywhere from $20+ all the way up to about $115, $120, maybe even more. But it's one of those things where the quality doesn't really matter. You're waving a piece of distorted glass in front of the lens anyway. So, you know, you can really cheap out on this kind of thing, in my opinion. Split diopters come in several different variants. You've got like the screw-on one, and you've also got the one I've got, which is like a handheld one, but it's also got some kind of screw mount here that you can rig onto your camera if you want. But I like floating it. I like holding it in front of the lens and changing the distortion pattern. You can get some wild distortions with split diopters, but I like using them for transitions. It's such a simple way to make shots feel more intentional and cinematic. And if you really don't want to buy one, you can literally just go and get a magnifying glass and hold it in front of the camera. It gets like a similar kind of effect going. That distortion is kind of what I really like about split diopters, and using that to perform a transition, super clean. All right, so tripods. Probably the most boring piece of gear to buy, but I'm telling you, it's really worth it to invest in a good tripod. But when I mean good tripod, it doesn't need to be insanely expensive. It doesn't need to be a cinema tripod. You're just looking for something that's sturdy, reliable, and something that can hold your camera and then a little bit more. When I look for a tripod, that's what I look for. I look for something sturdy, reliable, and portable. You don't have to spend tons of money to get a good tripod these days. A lot of different companies make a lot of really good tripods for an affordable price. And down the line, you can always just upgrade. If it doesn't come with a video-orientated tripod head, you can always invest in that later on down the track. A solid tripod keeps your shots intentional, adds a layer of security to your camera. That's something you really want to pay attention to. You do not want your tripod falling over when it's windy or just falling to the ground. That would be devastating. A good tripod also makes camera movement a lot smoother, look a lot more intentional and professional, which is never a bad thing. So in the description below, I'm going to list a few tripods that I think are a good deal for the money and something that won't break the bank. Definitely get yourself a good tripod. So I think lighting is without a doubt the most important thing to any filmmaker and any budget filmmaker for that matter. I have the Zion Molus X100 RGB, and I've also got the non-RGB version. I wouldn't necessarily call this lighting setup budget. It's still quite expensive, especially if you get the whole pack, but it is like an absolute steal. It's super compact, super small. It's battery powered too, so you can use it outside. The batteries last for quite a while. I think once I've had the battery die on me, and that was only because I was shooting with the light at like nearly 100%. I was nearly topping it out. I can't recall how long that lasts for, but still very good. You can buy the battery separately as well. It's a 100-watt RGB light if you get the RGB version, battery powered and very small and portable. If I need a little bit of extra light when I'm out filming, especially at nighttime or in low light situations, I'll always have it on me. I think to a certain extent, lighting will make your footage look better than a new lens with some caveats involved, but I'd much rather take a light and a light stand over a new lens any day. Okay, so this isn't necessarily like a product, so to speak, but don't be scared of buying secondhand gear. About 90% of the gear I have, I almost always buy secondhand. I don't care about the quality of it. I mean, when it comes to lenses, as long as the optical elements are in good condition, I couldn't care less about the outer shroud of the lens. If it's all scratched up or whatever, it doesn't really bother me. In fact, I actually kind of like the look of it when it's all used up and stuff. The reason why I mention this is I'd much rather have secondhand gear with a little bit of extra money to maybe go somewhere and make a video or fund another project or travel and use that additional monies to, be somewhere different. And I think this happens in every photographer or filmmaker or artist. When you're in a different environment, your creativity is like amplified. As an example, you can find some insane deals on Marketplace, eBay, thrift stores even. And this is something that I picked up on Marketplace for like $800 Australian. This is the Sony 35mm G Master lens f1.4. Understandably, that's still not very cheap, but considering it was like half the price of retail, it's better than, for the quality you get, that's pretty good. Worth the investment. I also picked up this TT Artisan's 100mm f2.8 macro lens. I've owned multiple TT Artisan lenses in the past. They're all very good. They're all very good quality. I think the lens quality is nice, are all manual focus. So at least all the ones I've owned are manual focus. So if you can get past that, it's definitely such a good deal. I got this lens for about, I think it was like $150 Australian instead of, I think they go for nearly 600 Australian. So, I don't use a macro lens very often, but when I do, I'm glad I bought this. That's definitely some extra money that I can put into experiences rather than in shelves. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about that I think never gets talked about enough is props. Go to op shops, go to thrift stores, go to vintage stores, look for weird, interesting things. Props build character, they add personality, and they make films feel alive. A lot of time and effort and money goes into big Hollywood blockbuster films and set design. And I think that genuinely makes the movie feel a lot more interesting, different. You can kind of relate to it a lot more. So yeah, old tech, interesting objects, and little details. Plus, you end up with a lot of different and cool shit in your house. So it's like a win-win. And that's really it. You don't need expensive gear to make great cinematic looking videos. You also don't need to get everything all at once. Pace yourselves, take the time to learn the equipment and realize what you need. Don't go out and buy stuff just because you see people doing it online. I've made that mistake with a gimbal. I think I've used a gimbal like twice since owning it. Spend less time shopping and more time creating, because the best gear that you can own is the stuff that actually gets used. Now I'm going to go out and film something. You should do the same. Socials in the description box below. Comment below also if you have any budget gear recommendations, or if you've found any amazing steals online or on Marketplace or thrift shops or vintage stores. I'm interested in hearing about it. So let's get out of here.